Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. For the longest time, the white door at the end of the hallway had been a source of relentless curiosity and forbidden mystery in my life. The brass handle gleamed mockingly each time I passed, a stark reminder of the boundaries Olivia had set in our home. "If you ever go into my office, consider us done," she'd say with a severity that chilled my spine. It was an odd stipulation, one that made little sense in the grand scheme of a supposedly open and loving marriage. Yet, the rule stood firm and unchallenged, until today. I stood before the door, my heart hammering in my chest, the echoes of our last argument ringing in my ears. "You don't trust me," Olivia had screamed, her face twisted in anger. It was the same fight, repeating like a broken record, yet today, it left a bitter taste of resentment. As her car disappeared down the driveway, the forbidden door seemed to beckon me with a silent whisper of hidden truths. With a trembling hand, I turned the key I had found hidden in the back of our bedroom drawer. The click of the lock disengaging sounded like a gunshot in the quiet house. I pushed open the door, half expecting to find another world hidden behind it. But it was just an office, or so it seemed at first glance. The room was bathed in the soft afternoon light, filtering through large windows. My eyes were drawn to the walls, covered with frames that seemed ordinary until I stepped closer. Every picture, every frame displayed photographs of her and her older brother, Max. At weddings, family gatherings, vacations, moments captured with an intimacy that blurred the lines of sibling affection. I felt a cold shiver travel down my spine as I picked up a photo from her desk. It was a recent one, taken at a family dinner we had both attended. But there, scribbled on the back in her looping handwriting, were words that felt like a punch to my gut: "With the love of my life, forever and always." The pieces clicked together in a cascade of sickening realization. Her late nights, her secretive phone calls, the locked office. It wasn't just sibling love, it was an obsession, one that she had kept hidden from me, walling off a part of her life where I had no place. Anger bubbled inside me, hot and bitter. I placed the photo back with trembling hands, my mind racing with the betrayal. All these years, the love I thought we shared, the trust one thought we built, was it all a facade? The room around me felt oppressive, each portrait a glaring accusation of my ignorance. I stormed out of the room, locking the door behind me with a newfound resolve. Olivia had deceived me, choosing her obsession over our marriage, and for that, she would have to pay. I didn't know how or when, but I was going to ruin her as thoroughly as she had ruined me. As I sat in the silent living room, waiting for her return, the house felt like a strange, hollow shell. The stage was set, the actors in place, and the drama of deceit and revenge was about to unfold. I was no longer a mere spectator, I was the orchestrator of the final act. Olivia's return would mark the beginning of her end, and from the ashes of our broken marriage, I would emerge reborn. The hours crawled by, each second ticking away with the weight of impending doom. I paced the length of our living room, my thoughts racing faster than my feet. The images from Olivia's office were burned into my mind, each one a vivid testament to her betrayal. My heart thudded painfully against my chest, a mix of anger and anticipation pulsing through me. As the sound of her car pulling into the driveway reached my ears, a cold calm settled over me. This was it, the moment of confrontation. I positioned myself by the hallway, the perfect spot to intercept her before she could retreat into her sanctuary. The front door swung open, and Olivia stepped in, her face a mask of exhaustion that morphed into confusion at the sight of me waiting. "What's wrong? Why are you standing there like that?" she asked, her voice tinged with a nervous edge. I stepped closer, the key to her office in my hand. "I went into your office today," I stated, the words hanging heavy between us. Olivia's face drained of color, her eyes widening in shock and then narrowing in anger. "You what? I told you never to go in there. How could you betray my trust like this?" Her voice rose in volume, a mix of outrage and fear. Betray your trust. I scoffed, throwing the key down at her feet. I'm not the one obsessed with my sibling, Olivia. The entire room is a shrine to Max. How do you explain that? For a moment, she faltered, her mouth opening and closing as if words had forsaken her. Then, with a visible effort, she composed herself, her expression hardening. You don't understand. It's not what you think. Then explain it to me, I demanded, stepping into her space, forcing her to retreat back towards the door. Explain why our home, our life together, is littered with secrets and lies. Olivia's back hit the door, her usual composure crumbling. He was more than a brother to me. We were twins, soulmates in every sense. When he died last year, a part of me died with him. Those pictures, they're all I have left of him. Her revelation hit me like a wave, the truth dawning painfully. Max hadn't been at any family event for over a year. Grief, not infidelity, had been her secret companion. I faltered, my resolve wavering as I saw the tears brimming in her eyes. Why didn't you tell me? My voice broke, the anger dissipating into confusion and sorrow. Because I knew you'd react this way. Because I couldn't share him, not even with you, she whispered, her voice cracking with emotion. The room spun around me as I processed her words. I had imagined a betrayal of the heart, but not this, a betrayal born of grief and solitary mourning. Olivia, I thought, I started, but no words seemed right. You thought wrong, and you've broken us, she said quietly, her eyes meeting mine with a profound sadness. The silence that followed was thick with unsaid words and unresolved pain. I had sought revenge for a deception that never existed, driven by my own insecurities and doubts. Now, standing amidst the wreckage of our marriage, I wondered if there was any path to redemption. Olivia moved past me, her steps slow and heavy. I need time, she said, her voice barely audible. I don't know if there's a way back for us after this. As she disappeared into her office, closing the door softly behind her, the finality of the moment settled in. I had sought to expose a lie, only to uncover a painful truth. The intrigue of my imagined betrayal had led to an all-too-real retribution, and the cost, I feared, might be the very heart of our marriage. The house felt colder that night, the silence between us more profound than the chill seeping through the autumn air. I sat in the darkened living room, the shadows stretching across the floor like accusatory fingers pointing at my guilt. Olivia had locked herself in her office, and the soft murmurs of her sobs had seeped through the door earlier, now replaced by haunting silence. Restlessness pushed me to my feet, and I paced back and forth, replaying our conversation, each word a sharp stab of regret. The revelation of her grief, hidden behind what I had mistaken for betrayal, gnawed at me. My actions, meant to unveil deceit, had instead peeled back a layer of profound sorrow, exposing wounds far deeper than I had known. Hours ticked by until the door creaked open, and Olivia emerged. Her eyes were red, her face etched with fatigue. She paused when she saw me, an unreadable expression crossing her features. We need to talk, she said, her voice steady despite the obvious pain. I nodded, unable to trust my voice, and gestured to the couch. As we sat, the distance between us felt like miles. I'm sorry, I started, the words clumsy and inadequate. I didn't know about Max, about how you felt. Olivia sighed, a deep, weary sound. That doesn't excuse your invasion of my privacy. Your jealousy blinded you, drove you to break my trust. I know, and I regret it deeply, I replied, my voice thick with emotion. But can we move past this? Can we try to understand each other better? She looked away, her gaze focusing on the dark window. I don't know if I can. You sought to hurt me, thinking the worst of me. How do we come back from that? I reached out, my hand hesitating in the air before resting gently on hers. We start by talking, by sharing everything, even the painful parts. I should have been there for you, should have been the one you could turn to, not the one you needed to hide from. Olivia's hand trembled under mine but didn't pull away. It's not just about talking. It's about trust. And right now, I don't know if I trust you not to hurt me again. The honesty in her words stung, a painful reminder of the rift I had caused. Give me a chance to earn back your trust, I pleaded. Whatever it takes, I'll do it. I can't lose you over a mistake, over my foolish assumptions. She finally turned to look at me, her eyes searching mine. It's going to take time. And it's not just about forgiving you. It's about healing myself too. I know, and I'll be here, however long it takes, I promised, feeling a fragile thread of hope weaving between us. Olivia nodded slowly. I'll need space. And we may need help, counseling, maybe. Anything, I agreed quickly, relief flooding through me at the possibility of reconciliation. We'll start tomorrow, she decided, standing up, her posture still guarded but less rigid. We'll look for a therapist, someone who can help us navigate through this. As she walked back to her office, her steps were lighter, and when she paused at the door, she looked back at me, a ghost of a smile flickering on her lips. Good night, she said, a simple word laden with cautious warmth. Good night, I echoed, watching as she disappeared again, leaving the door slightly ajar this time. In that small gesture, I saw an invitation, a sliver of hope. The road to mending our marriage would be long and fraught with challenges, but the first step had been taken. As I turned off the lights and headed to our bedroom alone, I felt a weight lift slightly off my chest. Tomorrow, I resolved, would be the beginning of a new chapter for us, one where trust might slowly be rebuilt, one honest word at a time. The morning light filtered through the blinds, casting long shadows across the kitchen where I sat, a cup of untouched coffee in front of me. My mind was a whirlwind of plans and countermeasures, each more drastic than the last. Today was supposed to be about healing, about taking that first step towards reconciliation, but a nagging suspicion had taken root in my mind, refusing to let go. I had decided to follow Olivia on her supposed solo visit to the therapist. A last-ditch effort to quash the doubts plaguing me, or perhaps to confirm them. Either way, I needed to know. The GPS tracker was a simple thing, a relic from an old photography project, but it served its purpose well. As I watched the dot move across my phone screen, it veered off the route to the therapist's office, settling in a part of town that made my heart sink. It was the area where Max had lived. Parking a block away, I approached the address stealthily. The building was nondescript, but Olivia's car was unmistakable. Taking a deep breath, I moved closer, until I could hear voices through the slightly ajar window. Olivia's laughter floated out, a sound that twisted the knife in my chest. I peered inside to see her and another man, not Max, as I had irrationally feared, but someone unfamiliar, someone whose cozy familiarity with her ignited a fury in me. I thought he'd find out sooner, the man was saying, a smirk on his face that made my fists clench. Olivia rolled her eyes, her voice light. He's too trusting, always was. But he served his purpose. Now, with Max's money finally in my account, I don't need to play the grieving widow anymore. The words struck like a physical blow. Grief, betrayal, deceit, it had all been a ruse, a calculated manipulation. The mention of money and Max brought it all together. She hadn't been grieving, she had been plotting, waiting for her moment to seize what she thought was hers. Rage consumed me, dark and vengeful. I pulled back from the window, my mind racing with the enormity of her betrayal. She had used me, used her brother's death as a cover for her schemes. The pain of her deceit demanded retribution, and I knew what I had to do. Returning to my car, I dialed the number of the one person who could help me dismantle her life as she had tried to dismantle mine. I need your help, I said when he answered, my voice cold, devoid of the man who had once loved Olivia. It's time she paid for everything. The plan was simple yet devastating. Utilizing every contact and resource I had accrued over my career, I exposed her. Photos of her and the man, alongside evidence of her financial misdeeds, sent anonymously to every major media outlet, her family, her friends. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. Olivia's reputation, her social standing, her financial stability, all crumbled within days. She tried to reach out, her messages a mix of pleading and fury, but I was done. The man she had conspired with turned on her, saving himself in a plea deal that left her to face the full extent of legal repercussions alone. The last time I saw Olivia was in the courtroom, her face etched with the shock of her complete and utter ruin. She looked at me then, a plea in her eyes, but I turned away, the finality of our parting a relief from the poisonous tie that had bound us. As I walked away from the courthouse, the cool air felt like a balm. Around me, the city moved on, indifferent to the drama that had unfolded. I felt emptied of everything that had once tied me to Olivia, the betrayal that had consumed us both now just ashes in the wind. In the end, Olivia's deception had destroyed her. And as for me, I was free, the ties of love and hate severed with one ruthless cut, never to be bound again.